Salam Media's humanitarian journalism. Thank you very much for joining us on Mid Morning Talk. My name is Shabnam Mohammed, guest presenting with a focus on Palestine liberation and actions both in Africa and internationally. Perhaps at the end, if there's some time, we'll talk about some of those international activities, but bringing it back home right here to the African continent and South Africa in particular, we'll be in conversation with Nasiha Soomar, who is a South African businesswoman, law student, and executive member of the South African Palestine Movement. She is dedicated to building purpose driven ventures and advancing justice, freedom, and solidarity. Assalamu alaikum, Nasiha, and thank you for joining us today.
Walaikum assalam, Shabnam, and thank you for having me.
Most welcome. We have about 15 minutes together and lots to talk about. Now, yes, in our previous segment highlighted quite a few of the activities that the South African Palestine Movement is engaged in. I'm not sure if you watched that segment or not, if you had time to, but is there anything else you want to highlight about the activities of SAPM that people can get actively involved in?
So I'd like to firstly highlight our Fridays for Palestine, which is a weekly grassroots action to keep Palestine in public consciousness and demand accountability. I think that personally for me, going every Friday, it's such a deep, meaningful expression, not only to get rid of the anger in screaming and shouting and protesting, but also that we are part of a solidarity that is keeping Palestine alive. And whichever street corner we are on, we always get, hoots from the cars, or we get people coming up to us and telling us, thank you for doing this, or joining us, or can you tell me where the next one is? So it's so important that we continue these efforts, because they're peaceful demonstrations, they're pickets, and they create awareness actions across Durban and across South Africa, since we also have people joining us in Limpopo and other provinces.
Great. Let's have a look at that Fridays for Palestine poster, weekly picket. Next one coming up this Friday, 29th of August, 4:05 p.m. at the Circle, Snell Parade and Aga Road, North Beach, Durban. Take Israeli genocide products off your shelves. That is the hashtag, supported by a number of organizations there. Nasiha, this is an excellent initiative. I've certainly participated and do participate on it. Yeah. Let's come back to Nasiha so we can continue our conversation there. And of course, it's the consistency that matters, and the raising of awareness and the drawing of connections between the common enemy in Zio imperialism that is operating, of course, and decimating Palestine, Congo, Sudan, and other parts of our world. And the movement continues to grow. There are, however, detractors. There are people who disagree with South Africans exercising our right to free speech in advancement of Palestinian liberation, and in particular for Palestinian children. Now, this past Sunday, SAPM had coordinated, in partnership with the KZN PSF, a women's cycling event on the beachfront, a get-together really, to walk, to cycle, to picnic at the end. But there was an incident with a detractor who did not want this expression of support for the Palestinian cause, and it became quite an unpleasant incident. Tell us more about what happened and what is the position of SAPM in resolving this issue.
Right. So during this women's ride of return, this disturbing incident occurred where a woman confronted and verbally attacked a group of young girls who, just simply because they were carrying the Palestinian flag. And, it's so shocking to see how even children that are exercising their right to peaceful expression were targeted by hate. And I can only assume that she tried to break their spirits, but in actual fact, it really backfired on her. And instead of breaking their spirits, she strengthened their resolve and their strength and their spirit to speak out for freedom. And, at that moment, I think it reminded everyone why we gather, why we stand against exactly that kind of intolerance, because we're responding not with hate, but with courage, solidarity, and dignity. And the position as South Africa Palestine Movement is that we will not tolerate hate. We will not tolerate people that are part of our banner, part of our friends, part of our group, to be attacked or to be shouted at or to be sworn at, and we will respond within full measure of the legal rules and law that we are granted as South Africans in this country, to have the freedom of expression and freedom to...
Is there an opportunity here, Nasiha, to perhaps educate this person and others like her? Is SAPM open to perhaps offering a dialogue, but of course, reserving your legal rights in this instance?
Of course, we're always open to dialogue. We want to talk to people and understand why they believe in Zionism and why they believe that is the right way. Especially for South Africans, a lot of them don't really actually know what's happening in Israel. They don't know what's happening in what Zionism promotes. They don't know the actual daily in and out of it, unless you've been to Palestine and unless you've experienced the checkpoints and unless you've experienced Israeli aggression or witnessed it, you don't actually understand the full scale of it. So as South Africa Palestine Movement, we must always, and I think our key focus is to educate people that don't understand really the full spectrum of it. They've only heard the Israeli side of it, or they've only heard the propaganda of the situation. They don't really have full spectrum information. So yes, we're always open to dialogue. We're always open to educating. And if anyone wants to be educated on the topic, they should contact us. We're more than happy.
Absolutely. And it's not, even if people hold a pro-Zionist position, which is completely untenable in the circumstances, and especially as Africans, we still have the right to free speech, which is guaranteed under the Constitution. And so therefore, the conduct of this person was particularly shocking. The video has gone viral, and perhaps there could be some sort of dialogue to help educate that person, but also other people who perhaps might then join the movement for a free Palestine, a free Africa, and a free world. So let's have a look at some of the images from some of the activities. SAPM is involved in some beautiful images here with the Palestine regalia, as you can see, Fridays for Palestine, which moves around to different spots. Nasiha, talk us through these photographs. There's 6 of them.
All right, so this one was on the corner of Kawi Road and Springfield Road. And I must mention and especially thank Raouf for always supplying us with lovely young gentlemen that are so caring and kind, and that join us every single week and protect us and make sure that we're safe, and use their voices to stand up for freedom. And while battling their own scars, they're really something to aspire to. This is the famous one outside the Durban Holocaust and Genocide Center, and we love going there, and we always have such a good turnout there when we go, because I'm not sure if the listeners know, but there's been quite a lot of things about how the Holocaust centers across South Africa don't say that they only will recognize the Holocaust once it's over, or genocide once it's over. So not while it's ongoing, not while people are dying, but once they're already dead. And this one is an important and a strong point for us as South Africans and as South Africa Palestine Movement, because in actual fact, they should be speaking out against genocide if that is what their center is for. This was our Starbucks one, and this one was also a very good one. We had lots of people come out, and Starbucks is there in the back. You cannot see it completely, but this was to say to people to boycott Starbucks. And of course, when we go to these locations, we're met with majority of the locations take pictures of us and obviously send it off to whoever they need to send it off to. And at times, I think for people that may seem intimidating, but it's really not. They're just documenting it. But the more sustained pressure that we have at these locations, the more the fact that they're going to shy away and perhaps close their doors or change their stance.
Absolutely. Certainly good to see this consistency out at the grassroots level in Durban. Thank you very much for taking us through these highlights and photographs. Let's talk then about an upcoming event, very exciting spring event called Fallen Flowers, a spring of solidarity coming up on the 13th of September. Talk to us about this event, Nasiha.
Okay, so the ideology of Fallen Flowers was that it would be a women's only gathering with speakers that have been curated for the purpose of the event, which is awareness, solidarity, and creating a space of beauty, resilience, and collective action. And at Fallen Flowers, we really wish to honor the lives lost while planting seeds for sisterhood and solidarity. It's a very deeply emotional one for me because it is one that I am directly in organization with my sister Zainab Tayyib. And it carries such a weight in my heart. And it's a space where we acknowledge the countless of lives that have been cut short by the Israeli regime, the children, the mothers, the families. Each one in our hearts is a flower that should have bloomed. But it's also about creating that resilience, that where we come together as women and we are able to take that grief and transform it into beauty, strength, and solidarity. And where the space is also going to become like a solidarity circle of women who are able to sit with successful women side by side and celebrate them and honor them and not feel any issues, but really draw on their strength of resilience and sumud, which is the Palestinian word for steadfastness, or the Arabic word for steadfastness. And really it is that steadfastness that we want to draw on from our speakers by having Hanan. We want to hear her story. We want to hear how she was born under an occupation and how she transformed to become the ambassador of the state of Palestine. And Fallen Flowers is a painful thing, but it's also healing at the same time. And we want to have that curated space where we can heal together. So it's going to be a really beautiful morning. We have speakers. We're confirming a third speaker, but so far we have Ambassador Hanan Jarar speaking, and then we also have our esteemed Dr. Lubna Nadvi speaking and sharing on her years of activism and her sumud in the Palestinian struggle. And we have curated goodie bags that have been sponsored by multiple brands and really showcasing products that are boycott safe, products that are alternatives to Israeli products that fund the genocide, fund the Israeli occupation of Palestine. And then we also have 20 plus giveaways, and tickets are going well and fast. So please do book your ticket if you're listening here to not miss out. And if you're in Durban, to please come out. I have to do a shameless marketing plug.
Well, it's a humanitarian cause. Let's have a look at that poster again so viewers can see how they can book a ticket. Nasiha, go ahead.
And I think, these events, whether it's our Fridays or our Women's Ride for Return or Fallen Flowers, they're more than just activism. They're about love and dignity and never letting the world forget the Palestinian people, that they're human beings who deserve freedom. And for me, on a personal level, it's very heavy, yes, but it's also one of the most meaningful things that I can contribute my time to. And every time that I see people show up, I know that we're planting seeds of change, just like
Absolutely.
others once stood up for South Africa. As a freedom baby, I always say that now I know which side of history that I would have stood on if I was born under apartheid. But I wasn't, and I'm so grateful and so held in awe of the millions or the thousands of women and men who fought for us to have a free South Africa, for us to be able to engage in dialogues and help others that are facing similar or even worse struggles, and just try to be a seed that grows and blooms and imparts this knowledge onto our future generation to be able to stand up and speak up.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Nasiha Soomar, executive from the South African Palestine Movement, for joining us today and taking us through some of the activities of SAPM, including Fridays for Palestine. We wish you well in the education process of detractors, and may they join the right side of history. And of course, all of the best with the upcoming Fallen Flowers event on the 13th of September there. Contact details at the bottom of the poster being circulated on social media. And we wish you all of the best with that event and all other activities for the liberation of Palestine.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. So that's our show for today. It's been a jam-packed show with various guests. Unfortunately, we did not have Dr. Hassan Gimba from Nigeria. Connectivity issues, quite common in the African continent, but Africa is rising and that too will get better. We hope to invite him soon to another program so we can hear what's happening in Nigeria in relation to Zio imperialism and how are Nigerians standing on their sovereignty. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for all of our guests who've joined us today. Yeshulin Govender, Nasiha Soomar, Zaytun Abed, and thank you, of course, to the team of Salam Media for producing today's show. My name is Shabnam Palesa Muhammad. Keep it locked on with Salam Media, humanitarian journalism. Assalamu alaikum.